only do one write at a time. The granularity of a lock is a different thing, right? So initially, even if you were writing and other folks, I mean, you were one process was writing a thread and another thread was reading even a different collection, locked. Everything was locked. But with time, they have the granularity of locking has become more and more fine-grained, and they've improved the performance by yielding occasionally and things like that. But the global write lock is still in play. So you will notice some either some hiccups or some occasional performance spikes or response time spikes because of that. The second thing is, and the reason that happens is because if in a write lock it is loading from the disk, which is insanely slow compared to just changing it in, reading from memory, and especially in places like EC2, reading from EBS is horrible. So at that point, the entire system is waiting till that page can be brought into memory. So the thing that you have to keep in mind is your working set, not the entire database, but if you have 1 million records, typically for most workloads, is it the zip field distribution, or who's aware of that? A very small, I think I'm fairly sure it's the zip field. We'll look it up, but it's a mathematical model for how much of a data set is actively used. So if you have 1 million records, typically only 10, 20, 30%, depending on use case, is actively accessed by various people. So that percentage, as long as you can fit that in memory, you're fine. Occasionally you may have to load from disk, but as long as your active data set will fit in memory, you'll see good performance.
Can I index or document metadata?
Can you index the document metadata? Okay, can you be a bit, what exact, when you say metadata, are you like...
Size, date it was created, for example.
Okay, no, there is no...
document.
You can, if you are using the object IDs, you can infer the time of creation because the time is actually one of the fields within the object ID. So that gives you that, but there is no size is something. I think there is a handler. There's a command for that, but for most part, there's no out-of-the-box metadata like that. You would just audit columns, all that stuff is something you would add manually.
So you'll have to strip metadata and add it manually. As the documents are being written.
Yeah, one of the typical
metadata and individually populate that.
One of the typical things you would do there is just as your objects are being modified, you would keep track of that stuff in the object itself, and when you persist, it's persisting that at least the timestamps and others things like who created it, when it was created, modified by, and modified at, things like that. Because there's no, I think somebody mentioned triggers, right? There are no server-side triggers. You can do server-side execution of code, right? You can do where clauses where you can give it a JavaScript snippet, but it's not, I would not recommend that. It's insanely slow. They are talking about replacing the JavaScript engine with V8 down the line. I think there's an open Jira for that, but even then, server-side code will be slow.
How you will add relationship between two collections?
So, there is something called a DB ref where you can ref. So let's say this is the object ID, right? And there's an examples collection. I have another collection called examples2. I can ref. There's a data type called DB ref,